Hi, I'm designer Jen Gallacher and welcome to another Happy Valentine's blog event series video. In today's video we will be creating a Valentine card, and I'm just going to build this using some of the elements that I have picked up along the way that include both Valentine and non-themed elements as well. I'm starting with a cardstock base that I have folded in half, and then I'm going to add this sheet of cardstock weight paper. This is cardstock weight paper from Cartabella paper, and I'm going to adhere that to the center, and I've already pre-cut it. Now this particular collection is called Devoted, and it has a texture to it, so it very closely matches the American Crafts White cardstock paper that I've used on the bottom here. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim up this gray pattern paper from Echo Park Paper. It's from one of their Dots and Stripes collections. And gray is a great color to add to any of your Valentine projects. So it's a nice neutral, very much the same as craft might be on any other project. So let's go ahead and trim off the bottom of the cardstock, or rather the pattern paper, and we'll adhere that at the bottom of the page. Now for this particular card, I'm going to do a stamped sentiment, and I'm going to use an older Technique Tuesday stamp, the Allie Edwards graded, and I'm going to use this Love You stamp. Now I could stamp in red, but I kind of wanted a tone-on-tone color and feel to this, so I'm going to use some gray stamping ink from Stampin' Up. And this sentiment is nice and long and should stretch the entire width of the bottom of my card. When I'm stamping, I like to have a surface with a give in it. So I'm using this foam core base that I've had for many, many years. And I'll center this along the bottom. And firmly press, so you can see that it says Love You across the bottom, and that will serve as the sentiment for my card. So now let's go ahead and build some additional elements. The gray pattern paper and this blue pattern paper are both not from Valentine collections, but they are colors that you will find in Valentine collections a lot of the time. And so feel free to look through your stash and find colors that match the season, and then pull papers that you like. I tend to pull from the B sides of pattern paper. Most manufacturers on the back side of their pattern papers will have a pattern that is typically smaller print, often tone on tone, a little less bold. And those are great patterns for using on cards and other elements like that. So look for B sides. Now I want to create a little bit of a interest in the middle here, so I'm going to notch the ends, and I fold this in half without creasing. And if you've watched my videos before, you've seen that I do this quite a bit. This is a great way to get matching notches on both sides of your pennants or your flags. And that is going to stretch across there. Before I adhere that down, I'm going to be using several different trims. I'm going to be using some silver tinsel to give it some sparkle. This is from Tim Holtz. I have some red twine that I'm going to use, and then I have this beautiful white linen border strip from Pink Paisley that I'm going to use. Now this particular linen is designed so that if you like altering colors, you could easily do that, and the way that you would do that is you would use spray mist, or if you have a re-inker bottle, you could put a little bit of it in a cup of water and water it down just a little bit till you get the exact color that you want, and then that will easily alter and change the color of this particular trim. So look for ways to alter it. So I bought it, and I can use it as white, which is what I'm going to do here, or I can alter and change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this on the bottom of my blue pattern paper strip. I'm going to center the design as much as possible. And then we'll adhere the entire strip to the card. In fact, I'm going to use glue dots, so it'll be a little bit stronger because I am going to add some additional layers. So I want to make sure that it sticks to my card. You don't want your cards arriving falling apart for sure. All right, and then also in this upper area, I'm going to tuck in a paper doily. Now, one way to stretch your supplies, well, I could use this entire doily. I know I want part of it trimmed off. And I can use that part for a different card at another time. So I just stick it inside my paper trimmer and I cut it off. So then I can use this portion at a later date. So I'll add some adhesive in the top of that doily and just tuck that right in. Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit of tinsel to the card. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use some double-sided red sticky tape. Now, depending on the width of your trim, you can use this wonderful red double-sided sticky tape. And it is sticky on both sides. The red is just the backing on the sticky part. So you cut it to size and trim it off, and it's very sticky, so I wouldn't use it with your best scissors, as it will start to gum up your best scissors. But if you have a pair maybe from the dollar store or something, that's a great way to use it. And then just set your trim directly on top of the tape. Use your fingers to mash it down. And then you can go back in with your scissors and trim off any extra part that you don't want on. So that adds a little bit of shimmer and shine. Now for the trim, I'm actually going to wrap the trim around the inside of the card. You could do this step before just on the blue, or you can do it now. If you decide to wrap it around like I am, you might want to add something pretty inside, like maybe a sheet of decorative pattern paper, another sheet of cardstock just to cover up the trim. Or if that doesn't bother you, you can leave that as is. So wrap it around a few times. I always think in terms of odds. So I wrapped this around 3 times and the tinsel was 1. Things look, for some reason, more natural when we use them in odds. And then I'll go ahead and tie this into a bow. So you can see I'm starting to add a lot of different textures, and textures are what take a card from mediocre to kind of spectacular. Then I have some mini pearls from Doodlebug Design in a cream and a silver, and since I have silver on the bottom, we're going to use the silver ones. And I typically use a large, a medium, and a small of the gems. Make a little visual triangle. And then I showed you once before, if you've been watching my videos, that I purchased this Sweetest Thing Brad collection set. Now, it was not intended for Valentine's, but you can see there are elements of pink in this particular collection. So I have pulled off this doily shape with the brad already intact, and I'm going to add that to the top of my card. Now, when you're doing a brad through the surface of the card, make sure that you remove that back portion because you don't need the brad to go through both areas. And I want it in the center. So I just place a paper piercer inside the center and I swirl it around a few times so it's just wide enough for the brad to go in that particular hole. So you can see how it adds a little bit of extra layering to that doily. Now I have a ticket from the Pink Paisley Die Cuts package that I've bought and used several times throughout these videos. And then I'm using a ticket that I've cut from this Devoted Collection paper. It's blue dot on one side, which would be beautiful for the card I've used. And then they have all these different tickets, and you can use this paper as it is for a layout, or you can cut out each individual tag. You'll notice some of them go vertically and some of them go horizontally. And again, I've cut out the number 1. And I'm going to add this to my card, and I'm going to gently lift that brad and place it so it's just slightly underneath the brad. And then I will add this ticket that says Hearts and Love and slightly overlap the first ticket. So there you see how by using different elements and even some non-traditional colors or non-themed collection pieces, you can create a beautiful Valentine's card. Be sure to visit my blog for the complete supply list for creating this card, as well as watch for the next video tomorrow.